Welcome, everyone, to the RPG Goblin, a TTRPG exploration podcast where we make learning these games fun and easy, because that's what you deserve, because you deserve to play fun games that are cool and not just stuck with D&D. Doesn't mean D&D is bad, I'm just saying. I am your host.
Hell yeah.
It gets more unhinged every time I do the intro. I am your host, Willow, the resident goblin who asks all the questions and just obsessed with TTRPGs in general. I just like talking about them, and that's why I bring on other people to talk about them, because I need someone to feed my desires of this. And so in today's episode, we are going to be talking about designing one-shots, specifically designing one-shots that actually last one session, because I'm sure many of you have experienced a one-shot that was planned for only one game, like, okay, let's do this, and then it ended up becoming a 4-shot or an 8-shot, which I hope it didn't become an 8-shot, because that's actually a lot.
That's a campaign.
That's a campaign, yeah, that's
Quite
a mini
frankly,
campaign.
that's a
right
campaign.
there. On today's episode, we have Grant to talk with us all about designing one-shots, which is absolutely perfect because he runs the show Game Master Monday, which basically specializes in playing one-shots in all kinds of different and cool systems. And so to actually know everything about Grant, I will let him take the floor and actually introduce himself properly and not my just weird all over rambly introduction. So there, go ahead.
No, I liked it. It was perfect. Fuck
glad.
a script.
Yeah, this shit is unscripted. I do not. I can't script, and so we do it by the seat of our pants.
That's exactly how you run a one shot. Well, I'm just kind of
Woo!
So, hi, I'm Grant. I am the titular game master over at Game Master Monday, where we play a different one-shot in a different system with a different cast every episode. You may recall me from an earlier episode where I came on and talked about Arc Doom, because I was the guide for a show called Bella's Comet, and I'm free. I am free from that obligation now. If you haven't heard that, there was a big twist. I'm not the guide anymore, but... Spoilers, kind of, sort of, not really anymore, but hey, go listen to that too. But I'm here to talk about one-shots and Game Master Monday specifically, so you get me for both my shows.
Exactly. Which, if you haven't listened to the Arc Doom episode in general, stop this, go back, listen to that, because Grant, like, our conversation was a little redonkulous. There was probably a little too much laughing involved and not enough TTRPG chatting, but it's fine.
Hard disagree.
Yeah,
Hard disagree. I think it was great. Well, you're a delight. Don't sell yourself short.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. No, it was absolutely fantastic. Definitely, like, I feel like every time I finish an episode, I'm like, man, that one was really good. But like that one especially, that was just really fun to end. And then it's like, man, that's a really great episode. So then I was like, Grant, we need to do a one-shot episode because like it's required at this point. And
yes.
I went on to Game Master Monday as well to play Paranormal Inc., which was fucking awesome.
What a great time. What a great fucking time.
I know. That absolutely wild. I mean, like, playing a skeptic in a game where ghosts are very much real and one person is literally a ghost on your team and has talked to you and all of that. Insanity.
Go check it out. Honestly, Willow's great there too. If you're sick about it, hearing her talk about TTRPGs all the time, go listen to her play one. Yeah. She's fantastic.
Thank you.
Come on down to my show now.
Which the link of which will be in the description of this episode, because it will be commonly referenced throughout the whole thing. So it's just how it's going to be. But like I said, we are going to be talking about one-shots in this episode, which is really exciting. And I guess I'm trying to think of the best starting off point for talking about one-shots. I feel like most people have played a one shot if they're in the TTRPG space.
Sure.
They come up commonly, especially if like, hey, the GM needs a break or the campaign, like, a little bit of a buffer between the campaign. Holidays always have one shot, stuff like that. They're great. But it seems like a lot of people have the problem of one shots going way over the time frame that you set out. I actually have I have a personal experience of this that happened last year. My my DM of a D&D campaign that I'm in decided, hey, we're going to run a Halloween one-shot. It's like, cool, awesome, well, let's do that. We play the first session, and we don't get to any endpoint at all because we end up role-playing the whole time. It's like, oh, shit, well, I guess we'll make this another game. And then it kept going until we had 4 sessions in total.
A whole arc.
Yeah, a whole arc, which I'll say it was a very fun game. I had a great time. Thank you, Jamie, for running it, if you're listening to this.
But Jamie, you're the reference for the problem, so sorry.
No, it's not the problem. It was a great time. But, you know, we all came in with the idea, all right, let's play a one-shot. And so we ended up having to hold off starting up the game again because we were trying to finish this other game. I'm curious, Grant, if you've had any experiences with one-shots going over.
Me personally, no. I'm batting 1,000. No. So, I mean, yeah, of course. I think this happens with everyone who wants... You know, I'm going to assume that a lot of you at home aren't making a podcast and you're just playing games for fun in your home life with your friends. So my experience is going to be a little varied from yours, but I still have some frame of reference for it. You know, of course, games can go long or extend into new sessions. And some would say, and I do believe this to an extent, that is what's called the opposite of a problem. Oh, darn. Yeah. The thing that I wanted to do just one time ended up being so much fun that we had to stop and sleep and pick it up some other time. Like, Jamie, if you're out there, good job. You wrote a fun story or you ran a fun story and your friends liked it.
It was a blast. Yeah, it was great.
So listen, don't feel bad if this happens. This isn't meant to scold you or me
for sure
like lay down the hard rules and say words are words. But there is that intent behind the name one shot, right? Like this is something that you're doing because maybe the main campaign just ended a big arc and your DM is like, I need time to write what happens next. Or it's Halloween or the holidays or I don't know, Arbor Day. And or maybe there's somebody at your table who's like, I want to try running a session sometime. Can we do a one shot? Like it's going to come up and we want a little taste of something different. Yeah. So I'm here to give you advice on how to write, run, and keep expectations in check for the one shots you want to do. And, you know, the best advice, if your main concern is how do I prevent it from becoming a 2 or a 3 or a 4, oops, I'm the DM forever now shot, is
the terrible pipeline.
Right. I hate making the first rule a don't. But, you know, this is my don't rule. If you're writing a one shot and you're not running a module per se, my most important rule is always less is more.
Oh my
God. / be open to killing your darlings. And what I mean by that is you are probably going to write down a lot of stuff that you think is really cool and you want your players to find all of it. And you're just itching to get it in there. You have to be okay with things being missed or flat out skipped for time. If your friend group is like, we're going to do a one shot from 6 to 10 and you've got 4 hours to get it in and it's like the 11th hour and you're not even close to the big fight that you need to end it, guess what, pal? It's fight time. It doesn't matter. Like, put the clue that they need to find in the thing they're holding, dog. It's time to go. You know, it doesn't matter if they don't find the cool thing. And you got to be okay with that. Something I like to do as a one-shot runner, if there's stuff that I was excited to share them that I didn't see, is I'll just I'll stash it in there. I'll get the ending going. We'll finish the session. You're probably all going to want to talk about how fun it was after. And then I just fucking tell them.
Yeah.
Like, hey, do you want to know what was in that closet? Of course you do. I'm genius. So
there was such a cool thing. It was a dead body and like all of this stuff was going to connect and it would have been great.
Yeah.
No, I love that though, because I very much agree with that point of like, keep it simple. And that's something that's taken me a little bit, even with like just campaigns and stories in general to approach. Like, less is more, because that opens up opportunities in long games. But in one shots, you literally have so much time. Look at a session of your normal game. How much do you really complete in a session? Like adding
I do
in
a
all
lot of shopping usually. I'm always like, is there a hat store?
Is
Can
there a
there be
hat
a hat
store?
store? Can I start a hat store?
And now we're playing a small business simulator
I'm
where
just
we
trying to
all
get
start a
wander home
store.
into every game I do. I just want to be a badger
Honestly,
selling hats.
honestly, I want that now. But yeah, it's like actually look at your sessions. Like, how much do you complete? I think that's a good framework to look at if you're not used to running one shots or even designing them. Like, how much do you complete in a session? How many like points are you able to hit? And in a one shot, you have the extra challenge of having to actually introduce the story, introduce the characters, things like that. So it's not just, oh, we were already playing this game, so we can get into it already. You have to actually start the game. And I'm curious if you have advice for that specifically, of actually starting one shots in a way, especially if any like urgent ways. Like, do you think urgency is a good way to start a one shot? Stuff like that.
Yeah, I think so. I wouldn't use the word urgency per se because that
Mm-hmm.
gives like a hectic nature to it. And the
Yeah.
last thing you want your one shot to feel like is rushed, right?
Oh, for sure.
There is your one shot is going to have a faster pace than a
Mm-hmm.
typical campaign game
Mm-hmm.
because there's going to be a beginning, middle, end
Yep.
right here and now. Um, I honestly, starting a one shot is not too estranged from starting your campaign proper.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a little bit faster for
Yeah.
sure. So you have to be a little cognizant of how long you're spending
Mm-hmm.
doing character development. Um, I'm a big fan of our one shots revealing a lot about a character out of the gate in like
Mm-hmm.
cool and funny ways. And you can do this in a
Yeah.
whole litany of ways. We just, by the time this goes up, we just posted a game under the name of Sock Goblins.
Ooh.
And you haven't heard it yet, but it'll be up by now. Uh,
Yeah.
but the premise of that game is the party is all a bunch of little goblins who live deep underground who
I
pop
love
up on
it.
the earth to steal socks. So when you're talking to your group about like here's the game I want to run, here's the premise,
Mm-hmm.
you can talk to your team about like how should we start this? Do you all want to meet each other? Do you all want to be
Mm-hmm.
familiar with each other already? And then go from there. The biggest secret for any DMing anything, but especially one shots, let your players do the work.
Yeah,
I
honestly.
like putting them right in a room. Here's the situation. Talk. And they're going to be so excited to reveal all the things they have hiding about their characters that
Mm-hmm.
it'll just come up. So,
Yep.
like, the intro to Sock Goblins, one of my favorites of all time because the cast bought so hard into the concept.
Mm-hmm.
And we just plopped them in a room together. Like, you are four here. You are friends. You are goblins who live in a big hole together. And you know what you're called here to do, discuss. And then they discuss, and it's very fun and funny.
I am so excited about this.
It's a hoot. I also like just pushing characters together.
Mm-hmm.
I ran a D&D one shot for my sister and Kay from Dude Where's My Drift, where they were two warlocks from two
Mm-hmm.
different sides of the planet, and then they
Oh,
had the
fun.
same patron.
Mm-hmm.
So the patron calls them both into his office one day. So now we have all the context we need. Oh, we have the same guy. Okay,
Yeah.
that's why we're here.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get fired.
That's so good.
They get fired for being well, I mean, the reason I gave them was because there was it's a long story. It's not a long story, it's a short story, it's a one
Mm-hmm.
shot, but the economy was the reason. The warlock economy was bad, and their otherworldly patron fired them to save money and to hire his nephew. So it was economy and nepotism. And then the goal was go get a job, go get a new patron, escape the
Mm-hmm.
far realms, basically.
Yeah.
So, like, bring your characters together either, very quickly and give them their goal out of the gate, or have
Mm-hmm.
them already know each other and give them their goal and get them out
Yeah.
of the gate.
Yeah, I don't like I've always had a hard time. There was one shot recently where we played Fishblade. Fantastic game. So good. Fish wielding blades. That's all you need. And I ended up struggling a little bit because it was a little while since I DM'd at that point, especially a one shot. And so I was like kind of getting back into it. I'm like, I don't like, I feel pretty confident. And then I started and I realized, oh no, I started at the wrong point of like trying to introduce, like I was trying to do a slower introduction that I would normally do in maybe a campaign where we're
Sure.
just like, meeting these characters for the first time. And we have sessions that we can actually meet them and all of that and do action. But I started to panic like about 30 minutes in, I'm like, oh no, 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 something's going wrong.
Oh
And so
no,
I
we're
had to
still on
like,
page 1 and it's been a long time.
yeah, and I'm like, okay, we got to rush forward. And what ended up happening is as soon as we actually kind of got forward, we pushed past that point. We got to actually like the meat of the game, which was them basically getting hired to go kill an undead clam. Fantastic. It was so fun.
Naturally.
Yeah, you just
Naturally.
wanted to have conversations and stuff, and the way that it's a great time. But like, yeah, that was the one struggle with that, and if I didn't realize that was a problem at that point, if I didn't have that prior experience of running one shots where it was a little bit faster, we probably would have gotten like midway through when like the actual time for the game ended. And it's like, okay, yeah, being able to shift those gears quickly is also really important with running a one shot, knowing when things do need to get pushed forward, killing your darlings, stuff like that. Just get it over with so that we can continue on the story, because we want to have a fun, climactic, and usually action oriented ending. Like, we
Yeah.
want to do something cool.
The trick is a clear goal in the very
Mhm.
beginning, because the reason you'd spend longer on character intros when you do a campaign is because your players have probably built someone with a somewhat deeper backstory, and
Yep.
they have a lot they want to reveal over the course of
Mhm.
several weeks, months, years of your lives that you're going to be
Mhm.
playing. And a lot of things are going to change about that character.
Yep.
One shot characters are designed to be born and expire. So, like, I kind of like, if you're a GM or a player for a one shot, imagine everything you're building as a fly. Flies live a
I like
day.
it.
They are
Yeah.
born, they fly, they eat shit, they die. So you have to like look at your one-shot characters the same way. A fly isn't being born being like, gee, I sure have a really complicated relationship with my mother who's a dragon. I better not run into her in like 5 to 6 months. That fly is like, I have to eat shit right now or I will die. Or rather, and I will die.
Yeah.
So, like, figure out what your character's I have to eat shit right now is and run that
Mhm.
into the ground and let
Yeah.
whatever happens happen to them. So, the same thing goes for players. Don't be precious. Kill your darlings. Don't write a whole ton of backstory.
Mhm.
What shit does my character need to eat
Yep.
and now? Like,
Yep.
or why is my character being forced to eat the shit that is
Yeah.
being given to them? Like, answer a question about your character and fly with that character.
I love that analogy. I've clearly never heard it before, because good lord, that was
That
so
just
off the
came to
wall.
me in the moment. Willow, I've never used it.
I love it. So, okay. With that, like, that is something, at least from a player's perspective. It is so easy when all you've played is campaigns to come in with like, okay, I actually have to like figure out my character's motives and what drives them, and blah 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 blah, and all these detailed things, when it does really need to be, I want to kill a clam.
Yeah.
Or like
And you could have a
the
reason for wanting to kill that clam. Don't,
yeah.
we don't have to sit and be like, your one shot character can't
Mhm.
have wants and desires. Just give them one, maybe two.
Yeah.
Give them a reason to do why they're doing the thing.
Yep.
And, that can be their driving force. And then because you're going to not be carrying the burden of all the secret information about your
Mhm.
character, you can still have secrets in a one shot and they can come to
Yeah.
play like an hour in. It's fun to do that.
Mhm.
And, coordinate with your GM. Like, nothing here is gospel. But
Yeah.
like it's important that you keep that sheet as simple and small and flexible as possible so that you can be open to the cool things that can happen. And so
Agreed.
that when you get to the end of your session, like, I never got to talk about my nightmare demon blade thing. Shoot, it never came up.
Beans. So like,
Beans.
honestly, like it comes back to the point, like we talked about, like, designing a one shot. Simple is better. Even characters for a one shot, simple
Yeah.
is better. Keep with something that's easy, simple, not too complicated, because it's also then it's easier to get attached to that character and want to like drag things out a little bit
Yeah.
too, because it's like, oh, I do want to explore this demon blade nightmare thing that I have, and have all of these different things. So
I've heard of people stashing characters from one shots for
yeah.
use later.
Mhm.
If you're playing a D&D campaign and you do a one shot real quick, I've even heard of DMs being like, "Hey, remember this funny guy from that one shot? Now he's back as an NPC."
Yeah.
So that's fun. I had a friend who's like, I do a campaign every year, but we do a second smaller mini campaign that we only play on holidays. And we
Oh, I
have
love
these
it.
like holiday specific characters that come out
Aw.
and they are just like awake
Mhm.
4 to 5 times out of the year, and that gives us a breather to play those guys for a little bit. So there's a lot of room and flexibility you have to do those things. So if you're worried about your one shots going over, don't overwrite. Keep things simple. Roll with the punches. You are a fly. You are
Yeah,
designed
you
to
are a
die.
fly.
You are
You are a
born to
fly.
die now.
I am so excited to clip that later. You are a fly. You are
You are a
designed to
fly.
die.
You must die. It is what you are born to do.
I love it. And so this is actually interesting. We're talking about like the character creation stuff. Specifically, I'll I guess plug this in a little bit. I asked a question on threads of like basically, hey, we're recording this episode about designing one shots and asking if other people had questions that they'd like to hear covered. And one
I'm
of
here to
them that I
serve.
actually found, one that I found very interesting was asking how to handle like character creation and potentially even session zeros. And I think this is a really interesting one for at least me, my experience. I have played most of my one shots within the same group. I did like a
Sure.
bunch over the summer. And what I ended up doing for a lot of those was actually hosting quite a few session zeros before the one shot. Now, I wouldn't recommend this for everyone because that takes time. That takes basically almost another session and a day to do. But the reason that I did a lot of these was because I was introducing a bunch of new players to these games for the first time, to TTRPGs for the first time, to specific games for the first time. And I wanted to make sure that they were comfortable. I wanted to make sure that they could actually like approach the game and like that they weren't nervous about it, and to like just like be like, hey, any questions that you have, let me know and we can go over everything, and to create characters, since again, it was a lot of their first times.
Great job.
So yeah, it was great. I love those session zeros. They were awesome. But I know for a lot of people, those aren't approachable because again, it takes a whole nother day, and when you have an adult
it's still
life,
a one shot, and zero is a number. I get
zero
it.
is a number.
According to the Arabians.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm curious of what, because at least with when I was on your show, there was a little bit of talk of like what we were doing for characters, but like no, like we didn't have an actual like session zero or a character creation session or anything like that. So how do you handle most of your one shots in regards to that?
Yeah, so our show has a fast turnaround time. We're recording and a month later that baby's out. So session zeros aren't always feasible for us.
Yep.
That being said, if you're doing a home game and your players want to be like, hey, can we talk about this before we do this because I have a lot of questions, say yes.
Yes,
first and foremost, always do that. Always listen to your players. I love using group chats, Discord messages, Instagram chats, whatever you've got, and making yourself readily available for those sorts of things. That's what I do for Game Master Monday. We put our cast together, we figure out which messaging service everyone has the easiest access to, usually Discord, but for my more in-person friends who aren't pro gamers, we use Instagram.
who aren't gamers,
who aren't
nerds.
Gamer girls. Listen, I know a lot of millennial theater kids, and they're all on Instagram, Willow. So when I do an in-person game and I get my friends who perform on the strip in an underground theater, we're reaching out via Instagram.
Yeah.
In which case I have to remind my co-producer, hey, you have to use Instagram. And she goes, ugh. But the point of that long-winded story was, I like doing my prep work, my session zero work in those threads because I can be very clear with what I'm expecting out of certain things. I can put out my safety tools right then and there. You can be very like, hey, if you need anything, ask it here or ask me directly. You have my information. That way, when everyone comes in, they're feeling pretty prepared, and, I'll always treat your players the way they want to be treated. If they're like, hey, I'm actually having a hard time grasping it via text, can we talk about it? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Heck, even like carve out time if you're going to be doing a one shot, being like, hey, we're going to do a one shot for 4 hours, but I'm leaving the first hour open for us to do character creations and learn the game. And then we'll do like a really basic one shot of it for
Which
3 hours.
Works really, really well. I did a World of Blades game, which is like a simplified Blades in the Dark system. And I did that exact thing where we didn't have time that week. Like, we didn't have time to have a session 0 type thing. So it's like, hey, right before the session, we're going to create characters and go over all the rules and stuff. And I'm going to actually piece together your characters in this not a pre-written, but a thing that I wrote. And honestly, I'm still like so proud of that freaking game because I'm like, I had 0 time to actually add in the characters and I thought it came off really well. But I love that idea though a lot. Have that hour carved out or however long you are able to have it. Sometimes if you're using a system or a game that you're familiar with already, you don't always have to do that. Sometimes it could be just 30 minutes or people could come prepared and then you can just play the one shot too.
Yep. I mean, the real answer, the less long answer is it's whatever your players need.
Exactly.
I like group chats. Easier still, carve out time for it. Because like asking your friends to meet twice is always going to be hard.
Yep.
Leave that possibility open if your one shot goes long, as opposed to like having a whole other meeting to talk about the thing.
Yeah.
So like, just be open to whatever your players need. Group chat, hour long, preamble, whatever you need.
Yeah. It just whatever works for you and your group, which is like at the end of the day, the advice for any TTRPG thing, like whatever works for you, whatever's the most fun for you, like.
Yeah, I mean, like at the core of anything we do, with everything we talk about on this show or any TTRPG you play, the goal is to have fun. You're playing make believe with your friends, so like ultimately, nothing matters. We're all gonna die one day, but if you want to make the experience as painless as possible, here's some cool things you can try.
Exactly. No, I love that.
What are we if not all flies who are just being born every day?
I love this fly analogy.
I'm going to ride this analogy into the ground, Willow. I'm going to find a way.
Absolutely.
And I keep bringing it up.
Yeah, no, this episode, like the way that this is going to get teased is just like fly gifts and whatever.
I'm going to get sent flies in the mail.
Yeah.
Piss my wife off.
Yeah, please don't send Grant flies in the mail.
Don't find my address, actually.
Yeah,
don't
do that.
Don't dox me. Like, what were we talking about?
No, I love that. No, this is great. Good Lord. Yeah.
Hopefully that answers your question. Sessions. Listen, session zeros are important. Let me just make that very clear. You should always have some kind of a session 0. Don't throw your players in completely blind unless they ask you to.
Yeah, even if it's just saying like, hey, here's the game, here's what to expect from it. Like, what are you guys thinking? And like, back and forth. Like, it can just be that. Like, just communicate. I mean, the
most important thing to do is figure out everyone's lines and veils out of the gate. So whenever I bring anyone new on the show, I don't assume anyone's an asshole, but I also don't presume that people are going to assume I'm not an asshole, right?
Yeah.
So like, I always kick off any group chat I do with any new group of people like, hey, out of the gate, here's what I'm not including in this game. If there's anything additional that you just to be safe, that makes you uncomfortable or you're worried about, let me know. And I very rarely put like unsavory, like real world shit in my games anyway, which I know is a divisive topic. I won't go too far into it. For me, I'm just like, I'm a silly, goofy guy. So this is me a silly, goofy game. But if there is going to be something where I'm like, we might be drifting into uncomfy town, then I'm like, I'm going to just out the gate be like, here's what I'm thinking is going to be included in this. We had a very recent example. We did a game called Agophagus. This is kind of both examples, actually. We played a game called Agophagus by the wonderful, brilliant, beautiful people at Six Legs Games, homies of ours. And, Jenny, who's my co-producer, was running that game. And she was like, what are people's like lines and veils? And we had one that came up that was going to be in the game. So Jenny just like, okay, cool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make the slight adjustment to this part of the story so that it'll be better for you personally. Like always do that.
Yeah.
Like bare minimum common decency stuff. Don't make your friends uncomfortable if they're already agreeing to do your weird shit with you.
Yeah.
And then
playing
like
TTRPGs is some weird shit. So I mean, like,
Endegophagus is a thick ass fucking game. There's a lot you can do in that, and you can get to all of it in one session if you want, or if your players are really nosy and want to look at everything, which I do, because I want to know what's going on. And Jenny had to make a lot of judgment calls there. Like, okay, there's a lot more of this dungeon left. We're getting close to 2.5 hours, which is over what our show prefers to do. I'm going to just start making the dungeon smaller.
Yep.
And then we have the benefit of being like, if you want to hear the rest, go buy the game. It's really good.
Yeah.
You know, like we can, whenever we don't finish a session or don't get to everything, we can play it coy. Like, go buy it yourself, Dingleberry. But like for your home game,
that's why we're not doing it all.
For your home game, just tell them.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like this is a social game. Like there are social elements in every single part of it. Like just communicate, just be open with your group, just be honest. Like, hey, this is running a little long. I'm going to cut a little things short and have to compress it a little bit. I hope that's just what we have to do if we want to complete it in this time. And again, if you have a one shot and it ends up going long and people want to continue to play and all of you are okay with playing, then continue playing. Yeah,
fucking
like make it
just
a
stop
two-shot.
calling it a one shot on social media, I beg you. You can call it whatever you want behind closed doors. But if you go on the internet and you post part 1 of our one shot, I will come to your house and be like, no, it is part 1 of your mini series. Shut the fuck up.
Say it correctly. I love the terms like 2 shots and 3 shots and 4 shots.
That's fine. Call them that.
Yeah, I think that's just a fun way to do it anyway, too. Like instead of like saying like mini series or whatever, like that's
I'm gonna
also
start calling
fun.
Critical Role a 50 shot just to piss people off.
Or what, like 100 and whatever shots.
Whatever the hell. How many episodes do they have now? I know D20. Dimension 20 is 12 shots now.
Yeah, 12 shots. Yeah, if you want to listen to a sick 12-shot game, I actually have the perfect thing for you.
We were going to play it all in one session, but it was too fun.
Yeah.
Turns out that whole Candyland thing was sick as hell.
Imagine if that was actually the origin, like... That would be
It'd be funny.
Fun. That would be really funny. And that's it too. Like there can be amazing long-term games that can come from a really good one-shot. Like one-shots are fantastic pilot episodes of like getting like a random group of characters together. And then like if their energy works and you're enjoying it and you're enjoying the setting and the world and like what is being provided, then like absolutely make that into a longer game. There are too many of my one-shots that it's like, man, I really wish that I could like continue this on.
Imagine doing one every 2 weeks and walking out of it and being like, there is a lot more there. I just know it deep in my
I can't
gut.
Do anything.
Oh boy. Listen, all of you who've played a game or made a game that got on our show, just know there's a handful of you where my players have reached back out and been like, that could be a show. And I'm like, do not talk to me.
Get out of my face. I don't need more temptation.
I'll name drop a few of those. Hey, Renee, who made Hopes and Dreams, and Ro, who made Play Ball. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you too.
Yeah. No, I love it. That's so cool. And that's the cool thing about one-shots too, is I feel like it's a great way to introduce yourself to a bunch of new games to then, when you have an opening to play something longer term, then you can be like, well, know what? We love this Glitter Hearts game. We had a great time with it. That was really fun. We can return back to that. Glitter Hearts is so good.
So good. So good.
I played it once and it's a crime because I want to play it more and I'm really upset.
Play more.
Grant,
play more.
I wish I had time.
What's up?
I wish I had time, all right?
Make a podcast and live your life, Willow. What's so hard?
I'm running a full-time game right now. I'm playing in another one. I'm running a podcast.
I
can only do... I'm playing on other people's shows. Like, I only have so much time.
I just love egging people on. It's fun.
No, it's great. No, it's... But actually, another question, though, that I got on the Threads thing was specifically asking about like convention play, talking about introducing people to like new games, since, you know, there is so much time. Let's say I've actually never been to a convention, TTRPG convention specifically, so I don't know usually how long the time blocks are. But let's say, hey, you have 2-3 hours. That may be generous, but I'm not quite sure.
I'll tell you, it is.
Oh, okay.
It's generous. So we're talking like designing a one shot to show off a game you're featuring at a convention, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like let's say
I have
experience
experience in this.
Oh, all right, yeah. Actually, tell me. So, what are the expectations with going into a one shot in a convention? Because again, I have no idea.
Yeah, I've got two different schools of thought for you, and it's from the two very different conventions I've done for running a one shot. The first one I did completely virtually, and it was for a convention. Shout out Brian for this one, but for the Brains and Brawn Con, Brian, who makes the wonderful, really simple RPG Brains and Brawn. Who he's under the name Fighter Guy Studios on I think every social media, right? Just if you search it and he pops up, it's the guy with the big beard. Super nice guy. He did a whole convention just for people to come try out all of his different modules for Brains and Brawn.
That's so cool.
It ruled. It was some of the most fun I've ever had in a convention setting. It was all virtual. Now, to be fair, that was a convention designed to feature one system. So there wasn't panels, there wasn't like signings, the normal convention fair wasn't happening here. It was just there to be like, I want as many people as possible playing my game, which if you're a game designer out there, it's kind of a low-key brilliant move to just be like, I just want all of you to come in here. It's free. Come play my game. And then if you love it, buy it.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
so I ran a game
convention, please.
J Dragon, call out.
Yeah, J Dragon.
I don't know how much pull I got with you, J Dragon, but if you do a Wander Home convention, I'm there.
That would be so fun. Seriously, that would be really
love Wander Home. So for Brains and Brawn Con, I was given a 4-hour slot to just write and run a one shot for people who filed into my room and just run with it. So if you're doing something like that, where you're going to be running a game for people who you don't know are coming, and you want to give them the full scope of the game, it's all about time management and all about killing your darlings. So a lot of the stuff we talked about out the gate. Now, I don't normally get 4 hours. So to me, I'm a kid in a candy shop. I got through everything because I'm normally running 90-minute to 2-hour one shots.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, I have so much I can do.
I give them 30 minutes to make characters. Because making characters is really easy in Brains and Brawn. And then we ran the game and it was super fun. And I was given the witching hour time for my game. So we're playing until like 1 a.m. Pacific. And I'm starting at 10 p.m. So I'm sitting here like running on nothing but like fumes and a dream, running this game for 7 people, trying to kill a demon. And it was super fun. Yeah. And for that, it's all about, manage your time wisely, give them what they need to have fun, give them the basics of the game. Don't overload them with like, a cool new twist or I'm going to reinterpret the mechanic this way because we're having fun. Like if you're, in my case, being hired to feature the game, do the game justice and put the game ahead of your story. And you'll end up having a good time because if you're good at what you do, you'll have a good time. Now there's the other end of the coin where you are running a booth at a convention and you're fighting for other people's attention and people know they can come to your booth to test out your game. Brother, I'm giving you 30 to 45 minutes. You better have pre-made character sheets ready to go. You better have a cheat sheet next to that character sheet so they know what to roll, when and why, turn orders, whatever you need to make your game operate smoothly. And you are giving them a level 1 ass mini adventure to give them a taste for it. And don't make it like a basic ass adventure, like all tongue in cheek. Like there be a cat in yonder tree. Give them some bones to chew on for sure. But don't make it so simple that it's like, okay, well, they were just like, trying to give us a taste of the game.
Yeah.
Like give them something exciting. Like what makes your game the thing that people are going to want to buy right then and there? Because if you got 30 minutes to sell them, you might not even get the full 30 minutes. They can walk away. People will and have done that. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. If you don't hook them, they're walking. So figure out
it's
what
a
it
convention.
is.
They have other things they can do.
There's so many other games they got to play. Not everyone has 30 minutes. I'm being generous with 30 if I'm being real.
That's insane.
The most effective thing I've ever seen, it was a Gen Con thing.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of friend of the show, friend to me. He probably forgets I exist. But Tim Platt, who is an actor and a role player for Rude Tales of Magic, made a fake game called Yuletide Combat Family that we now play every single year. It's a holiday themed fighting game where the rules barely matter. And he was running that at Gen Con.
Yeah.
And pretty much you saddled up. He gave you one of 6 sheets that he wrote himself. The sheets looked fun and silly and had little like moves on them. And you knew what you were getting into out the bat. He had you duke it out for like 10, 15 minutes. And it was super fucking fun because you're just being hot and goofy fighting as like Martha Cratchit from A Christmas Carol against the leg lamp from A Christmas Story. It was so fucking fun. So like find the most fun mechanic of your game, build your one shot around it, assuming you gotta get this person's attention within 10, 15, 30 minutes and run with it. Don't waste time explaining. Let your game do the talking.
I actually love that, especially in the perspective of like, if let's say you only have 30 minutes, you can't really introduce all the rules to a game and stuff like that.
You can't even introduce the character. You you can't tell them what they're about. You were like, here is your character. You are I'm just going to make up a system here on the fly here. You are a fly and you are about to eat shit and die. Found a way. I'm going to keep doing it. It's a good bit.
It is a good bit.
If you are making your fly game, hand the person their fly. Like, here is your fly. Here's what they can do. Here is your setting.
Yeah, who's going to be making the fly eating shit RPG?
At this point, me, I guess.
Oh my god!
Wouldn't be the first time I wrote an RPG based on a bit.
And it won't be the last.
If you follow Game Master Monday on Instagram and scroll down far enough, you will find a little game called Nice. It is a system agnostic system for you. The whole premise is you play with a D100. If you roll a 1 through 50, you succeed. If you roll a 51 through 100, you don't. And if you roll a 69, you super succeed. And you can say nice.
Of course. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's it.
I love it. No, that's so good. But like just to on the point, like, yeah, you can't really introduce just one game, like just like a game's mechanics at the table. You have 30 minutes, you have a limited amount of time. Some people have the privilege of having a longer time block if you're playing a home game or something like that. But if you're introducing new people to a new system, you need to either have it be a really simple system that's really easy for people to just like look at the sheet or a reference sheet or whatever and understand, or simplify the rules for this one game.
Yep.
Because then if you try and do a D&D one shot and explain how every mechanic in D&D works and get into grappling, then something went wrong. I feel like.
I have this shtick I've always wanted to do for a convention. Maybe one day I'll do it. But I've always liked the idea of step up to my table and roll a D20, and then you can role play out of one of 20 different scenarios.
Oh, I like it. Yeah.
Sometimes that helps, so that way you get a good variety of things. You can introduce a whole lot of different mechanics you're excited about, and people can be like, wow, that was a really cool, interesting thing they did.
Yeah.
Or hell, roll this D20, here is your character. Roll this D20, here is your situation. There's a TikTok account you can follow called 60 Second Dungeon. It's very silly. Do not get me wrong. It's a very silly TikTok account, but it is a guy essentially guiding a person with no like character stats or anything through random dungeons for 60 seconds. Take inspiration from that. People are always going to remember your shtick before they're anything else about you. They're not going to be like, oh man, I would have got that game from Willow, but she spent like 20 minutes trying to teach us how to play the game, and then we started playing it and we had to like get through a whole bunch of stuff. Like, no, they're gonna be like, we went to Willow's table and she fucking like, she just handed us a sheet. I rolled a dice. I was flabbergasted. She told me I was in a haunted curio shop and I was being chased by chattering teeth. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm in it. Here we go. Like,
let's go.
Shock them. Like, give them your
Shock
gimmick.
Yeah,
and then show them
honestly.
your favorite mechanics.
Mhm.
If I was running a D&D table, the only thing I would be worried about that person doing is roll this dice and see if it works. That's the only
Yeah.
thing I would worry about. If
Yeah.
I was running a Call of Cthulhu table, all I would be worried about, I roll these 2 dice and see if you fucking die.
Yeah, see if you
Like
die or
that's a
not.
brutal ass game.
Oh,
If
it is
if
very
I was
brutal.
running a Wander Home table, I would be only concerning myself with the mechanics that are fun. Like, what is the coziest part of Wander Home? Like,
Yeah.
hello, come to my booth. Here's the soup mechanics.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh fuck, there's a soup game. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
it's a soup game. Like, actually go into go to a cozy place too. Like, start there. Don't start like, no, you've been on a journey for years and or months or whatever, and up to this point you just got no. Start at a really cozy town and start a hat shop and eat soup
With your flies.
with your flies. Okay, concept.
All the bits.
Everyone plays Wander Home, but everyone plays as a different kind of fly.
Ooh,
but instead
there's
of
kinds of flies. I guess there are, huh?
Yeah.
There's fruit flies and horse flies.
Who's gonna
Dragonflies. I don't know. Counts. J Dragonfly. That's a free one. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's a little late.
It is a little late. It's been a day, but this is the vibe for the episode. So you guys,
we bring a certain kind
of
je ne sais quoi to our chats here,
Yeah,
folks.
exactly.
You are welcome.
We're professionals here.
Professionals.
We know exactly.
Between the two of us, there's 3 whole podcasts under our belt.
Exactly, which means that we're qualified, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah.
How many podcasts has Matt Mercer got, huh? I actually do not know. He might have more than one.
Yeah, he probably might.
I'm unclear. What else have Threads has?
Yeah.
It's a little silly here in the RPG Goblin home.
It is a little silly in the RPG Goblin right now. But yeah, I mean, I think today's just a silly day. Both episodes, I think, are coming out really silly. So this is going to be a good month. So another one that actually I thought was really interesting is specifically asking, how do you keep a 1-shot from becoming a 2.5 shot? But what I specifically want to cover is
2.5. That's funny.
Yeah, no, it's like really.
That's been in session 3, my guy. Who hurt you?
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could have finished it midway, and then you all decided.
Yeah, you didn't need as much time as you thought.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, I guess we can just.
I'm glad you learned restraint at the third one. Like, yeah. Okay.
Instead of pushing it, over, like having it over.
Could have been a 3-shot, but no, we really need 2 hours. We're good.
It's only 2.5. It's good. We got it.
Sorry, I'm just being a jackass.
No, you're. I love it. It makes me very happy. Like I love just goofing off. It's way too much fun.
Same. You've heard my show.
I know.
Not a serious bone in our body.
Why this is an interesting mix. In the best way possible. But specifically what I thought was interesting was they were asking like how to basically prevent going over a 1-shot without railroading, which is always a fun topic when it comes to TTRPGs. And I did just
advocate for railroading earlier. But I do have an answer.
Oh, yes, absolutely. What's your answer? Hey everyone, it is time for the midpoint episode break. I hope that you are enjoying this episode of the RPG Goblin so far. If you are, please make sure to leave a review because every single bit of support like that literally means the world to me. And on top of that, I just want to give a final announcement on the November 1000 listens goal. We actually reached it and completely demolished it by over 150 listens. And so due to that, we are going to be having the TTRPG party this month, aka December. I will be announcing the date for that very soon on social media. And because we absolutely demolished the goal, I am also going to be hosting a live Q&A actually in my Discord server. So you can either join in and put questions in the chat early that I will answer, or you can listen to the actual live recording itself and ask questions in real time. Now, if that sounds cool, please make sure to join the Discord server, which will be in the link in the description of this episode, or on any of my social medias as well. Now, I really hope that you're enjoying this episode. There is a lot of like late night unhinged energy here, and I absolutely love it. And for our promo today, we are going to be featuring AARPG podcast. AARPG guys are absolutely fantastic. I actually had them on for the Alien episode, Matt and Nathan, and they are just some of the sweetest guys ever. And if you are really looking to get into the Alien RPG and want to see examples of play that are really good, please check out the AARPGs. But let's listen to their promo and see what they got for us.
Are you looking for an actual play podcast with young, hot role players, disciplined professional voice actors, and wholesome content? Well, this isn't that podcast. AARPG is an adults-only podcast with interviews, actual play stories where...
Excuse me, Matt, why do you sound like you've been chain smoking since you were a toddler?
What do you mean?
The voice. You don't have to do that voice, man.
I don't?
Nah, just tell them that we're a group of old friends who like to get together, hang out, play lots of different types of games, and we want them to feel like they're sitting at the table with us. And they can find us just by searching for the AARPG podcast on their favorite podcatcher and at the AARPGs on YouTube.
Going over a one-shot without
Yeah.
railroading, which is always a fun topic when it comes to
And I did
TTRPGs.
just advocate for railroading earlier. But I do have an answer.
Oh, yes, absolutely. What's your answer?
So without railroading, so for those who are new to the hobby, railroading is when the DM just exerts their god power and takes full control of the story and forces things to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not unlike a train on a rail. It's got a negative connotation because it's like, oh, well, the DM's is forcing their story upon us now. And yeah, don't do that. Don't grab the wheel and stop them from having fun.
Yep.
For sure, if that's your concern. But there are ways you can railroad without it seeming like you're railroading, my guy.
Yeah,
it's a very valuable trick. The real secret is listen to your players.
Mm-hmm.
And by listen, I don't mean like if they ask you to do something, say yes. When listen, I mean like hear them and how they're playing the game, follow the vibe.
Yep.
And be open to what you had planned being changed a little bit and using your improv skills.
Yep.
So you can clearly tell that the ending isn't coming anytime soon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you want the ending to come anytime soon. So maybe instead of, scrapping everything you have, grabbing ending and slamming it here, forcing the train on the tracks and putting more steam on it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe listen to what the players are currently doing and see if you can pull an ending out of that.
Yeah.
That way it's the players who've railroaded you, sir. And they're going to have more fun doing that because they're like, wow, we really, you were really rolling with the punches. We didn't think we were doing the right thing. And then when it's over, you can be like, you weren't, but I like your solution. So we're going to roll with it, So
and I think
that's the real trick.
Yeah, part of that, again, just comes down to, don't plan too much for, a one-shot, too.
Yeah.
Plan bullet points and things that, here's the scenario. Because if you are, planning out every little detail, that's what's going to cause railroading, at least in my experience. If it's like, hey, this thing needs to happen in this order, or else everything goes downhill, then you need to not plan so much, at least in my experience.
I feel like I'm saying don't a lot, but that's the thing with one shots is by design they are more for restraint.
Yeah, for sure.
It is the restraint that will set you free, my children. How do I want to phrase this? What's a good analogy I can use here that doesn't involve flies?
Shit.
I feel like a lot of DMs. And everyone does this. A lot of DMs have a lot of the same cultural touchstones for things like puzzles, mysteries, and stuff. So you're probably thinking about some of your campaigns like they're a Zelda map. or like they're one of your favorite video games or one of your favorite movies or books, etc. And those have a plot and a structure and an order to them, and that's writing 101. I get it. I'm a writer. I feel you, homie. Sometimes with one shots, you have to be open to the game being less Zelda and more fucking around in Zelda.
Yeah.
Like, maybe
the
it's not,
open
maybe your
world.
players aren't going to figure out, I got to shoot the arrow into the glowy eye. Maybe they're a bunch of chicken chasing pot smashers. And you have to sometimes let the solution be chicken chasing and pot smashing instead of what you had planned.
Yeah. And again, part of it is being able to make that switch, like, okay, that's where the players are going, so we are going to go in that same direction, but also like matching the game and scenario with the players.
Yeah.
If you are playing with strangers that you don't know in a convention and stuff like that, that's a lot harder. But like at least in my home, like one shots that I like to run, I like picking games that I know will jive with my players' play style, or I will be, again, very upfront, like, hey, it's this type of game. So if they want to be goofy when we're playing Definitely Wizards, that's what the game's all about.
Great game. It's
so good.
Good name drop.
It's so good. My favorite. Like, I want to play it again so bad. I just want to make like a million freaking.
That's a good simple. Hey, folks out there, a good simple system for one shots. Definitely Wizards.
That's what it's made for. Like,
I should have entered of that. The real secret to making a one shot that's not going to go over is pick a simple ass fucking system.
Exactly. Pick a one shot system. Honey Heist, fantastic. The Witch is Dead, fantastic. Definitely Wizards, fantastic. World of Blades was really, really good as well. Fantastic. Like, I'm
gonna name drop the author of two of those because two of them have the same author. It's Grant Howitz. Grant Howitz, my shining god. A lot of people have the game that got them into really being good at a certain style of play. Grant Howitz, wherever you are, mwah, because The Witch is Dead is mine.
Really?
Yeah, Grant Howitz is one of the reasons I have Game Master Monday, because Grant Howitz writes brilliant one-page RPGs that are easy to grasp, have maximum flexibility, maximum goofiness, and I was like, oh, a man after my own heart who simply wants a whole bunch of funny times and a really easy to grab thing. I tried to get the hang of D&D. I'm still trying to get the hang of D&D. I run a podcast.
Okay, you don't run a D&D podcast, though, so like...
Fair, but I've done a D&D mini-series on my podcast, and I've been told by many people who play and run and love D&D, wow, you sure did that different. And I'm like,
Oh my god, what a freaking compliment, though. Like, in my eyes. Yeah, like... Thank you. Thank you. That's what I wanted.
That is the mini-series where if I ever needed to preach for the guiding philosophy of the TTRPG Goblin, stop making D&D work for you, find a system that works for you.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you want to hear D&D run in the least D&D way possible, go check out our mini-series called Defeating the Dungeon and Game Master Monday. Otherwise, find a system that fits the vibe you're looking for. For me, it was Grant Howitz, and the door blew open for me. And then I found a whole bunch of other cool creators and one-shotters and all and game designers, and find your Howitz. Find your Howitz.
Love it. No, that's perfect. And now I just want like a Grant and Grant like call, like double Grant.
I'm begging. I'm on my knees. If I listen. I have some people, a lot of podcasters out there have their white whale guests, and they're always the names you'd expect. Mine are just increasingly weird. It's Grant Howitz. It's Branson Reese, who runs Rude Tales of Magic. It's Lynn Kodega, who is the genius behind the IO9 exposés of Wizards of the Coast. I don't want the people who were on the same two shows. Give me the weirdos who have the weird senses of humor.
give me the people that no one thinks about, please.
Yeah, and like, listen, they all have a much bigger audience than I do. They're also not Matt Mercer and Brennan Lee Mulligan and Abri Iyengar. And so I'm just like, I don't ask for a lot, folks.
I don't ask for a lot.
I'm here to talk about one-shots, not
So
Lin Kodega, but I could talk about Lin Kodega.
Basically, what I'm hearing is petition for Grant Howitt to talk with Grant from Game Master Monday.
Put him on my show. I have all the ideas. Anyway.
Yeah, put him on the show. That would be so good. We need to figure this out. We need to arrange this now. I will start a Twitter petition like, hey.
Well, if it works, I'll owe you all the favors. Whatever you want forever. You want me to co-host this show? I'm there, baby.
Oh man, how insane would that be?
We get nothing done. We would get nothing.
Yeah, we would get nothing done.
We're barely getting anything accomplished here. So far, I've given, I think, 4 total pieces of advice and a lot of jokes.
Hey. That's the whole thing. We're
and one really solid analogy. Maybe 2. This other one wasn't half bad.
Yeah, this other one was good. But like that's also what I really like about like improv games. Really, I like the idea of going into a game with like not a lot planned, because then you can just absolutely just vibe with the table. You can fit whatever's going on. Like the more and more I'm GMing, the more and more I am becoming like almost a fully improv GM, because
it's much more fun. It's better.
It's so much more fun. Like and it fits my style. Like I really like doing game prep. But when it got to the point in my D&D campaign where I had to do game prep every single week, or else like it would have like it was required, like that stressed me out so much. I play Monster of the Week. I'll tell you what, I haven't prepped for at least maybe 10 sessions.
Good for you.
And we have like we've played 15, I believe. So like all that I do is just write the mysteries out at the beginning of every arc, and that is it. Yeah. I have my notes here, and I will look at it and maybe do a little revisions if needed, which is usually just switching around some things, or I just have a thought and I just implement it in the game anyway without even writing it on the sheet because I thought about it in the moment, and that's just better.
Yeah.
Like
it's the way to do it, honestly.
It really is.
It's not for everyone, I will admit.
Oh, for sure.
Improv GMing, I have noticed, is much more better suited to people who have, well, I shouldn't say better suited. The people who are more inclined to go that route have a performance background, and they like that style, and that's what drew them to TTRPGs. Yep. Other people are maybe drawn to it because they enjoy writing, or they enjoy puzzles, or they enjoy war games. So always, find your tribe for how you want to run a game. Because nothing is worse than being an improv GM playing for players who are not role play forward. It comes down to everything. Communication is key with one shots. Finding your style and your voice and being open about expectations and boundaries is everything. And the secret sauce to any type of GMing with a one shot, beyond what we talked about, it's a lot about less is more, flexibility, all that stuff. Yep. The secrets, the really secret ingredient that your GMs won't tell you is lying. Lying is the secret sauce, and lying will get you everywhere. Lying will prevent you from railroading. Lying will prevent you from going over. Lying will prevent you from, being sad about killing your darlings because you're going to make your players really happy. And what I mean by lying is if it's going long or the energy is dipping, if you need something to happen and it simply isn't going to happen because your players are a bunch of fucking goofballs, lie. And when I say lie, I mean improv, obviously. But to make it more palatable, I mean lie to them. If they are looking for a solution and they're not finding it, lie. Have them roll a dice. Have them do something to make the solution appear or a little bit more obvious. If you don't have a solution planned and your players are certain there is one, tell them they're right. Yeah. You figured it out.
Exactly, and it makes them feel
I cannot
like a
tell you
genius.
how many unlocked doors there have been in my games, and they knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that door was locked. And they spent minutes, precious moments of our lives, looking for keys Homie, give him a key.
And now, if you've played in any of Grant's games and you're listening to this, now you have to decide if you are one of those games where the door was unlocked.
And I'll tell you, there have been games where there were intended keys. So you'll never know, folks. But there have been some where, nope, you didn't need a key.
Yeah. Which, like, I think that's even the biggest thing when people even think about, timing, even within TTRPG sessions in general, is moments where everyone gets stuck on a door that is already unlocked. You know? Like, there's always that conundrum that will come up in any game, whatever situation it may be. Maybe it's not a door, but maybe it's something similar. Like, how do you prevent your players from obsessing over one thing and instead of obsessing, moving on? Because, hey, we're playing a game and we want to actually finish it, and I want you to be badass and cool and kill something. Like,
yeah. And honestly, don't be coy about it, because nothing frustrates a player more than not knowing the solution and not making progress. I've had DMs that have had me doing fucking math to solve a puzzle for like 20 minutes. And I'm like, my guy, please give me give me some grace here, for crying out loud. Like, none of us are having fun doing this. I know you got the riddle out of the book for third graders. I'm a theater major. Leave me alone. I don't have a Bachelor of Arts degree, my guy. I did not I did not do the foreign language and the sciences.
Yeah, I don't know how to read. Like, I don't know why you even invited me.
It's a miracle I'm speaking to you.
No,
I'm a fool, sir.
Fair. But, like, that's exactly it. And also that there's nothing more frustrating to a GM, at least in my experience, than being intentionally coy because you planned out a solution. So then you want them to, like, figure that out specifically, because then you're frustrated, they're frustrated, no one's having a good time, and we're playing these games to have fun. So if something is dragging and not fun, move past it.
I quite frankly don't like being smarter than my players. And there's a lot of, listen, I get it. If you're a GM and you're a forever GM like myself, you probably have a little bit of main character syndrome and a healthy dose of narcissism. I'm with you. I am talking on a podcast a lot. I get it. But, like, you can't carry that energy and that knowledge and that belief into your GMing, because you're the biggest team player here. You're the one that has to keep the group together and cohesive and moving forward. The goal should always be moving forward in some capacity. Sometimes you move backwards to move forward, but you should move is the point. If they're stuck for a long time, lie. The answer to the 2-door riddle where one always lies and one that tells the truth all of a sudden is now maybe there's a third door they're not telling us about.
Or maybe they're just both lying. Who knows what's happening?
Maybe the question really was which one of us is hot, and you just have to find the way that makes that question work to the right door. So, like,
which door are you more sexually attracted to?
And now they have to answer the question. Be cool. I'm a big rule of cool advocate. So, like, keep your game simple, keep your story simple, keep it loose and flexible, follow the direction your players want to go, lie if you have to. Spoiler, you're gonna have to. And be very clear with your expectation for that game. If you tell them we're only going to do this one session and we're going to do it for this many hours, honor that.
Yeah.
Unless they ask you to keep playing.
Yep.
Then you're good to go fucking nuts. Like revel in your own genius, bathe in your own bathwater, whatever you got to do. Then congratulations, you did it. You win GMing. That's how you win D&D. That's how you win Pathfinder. That's how you win. Your players have fun and they want to keep doing more. Yeah. But if you're not trying to do that, then simplicity, my friend. Simplicity and lying.
Simplicity and lying, the core of running one
You have now gotten down to the core of what Game Master Monday is.
We always knew. And I think another thing that I'll say is, like, also, you mentioned this more, but I'd like to, like, kind of put a bit more emphasis on it. Is just work with what your players are already doing to, like, even when it comes to my normal games, I do that as well. If my if my players are coming up with theories and ideas of where they think the plot is going, I implement that into the freaking plot because they feel so
Steal.
cool that they figured it out.
Yeah.
And I don't think that my idea for my Monster of the Week game is more genius than theirs is. So like I am open to changing it up if it fits. If that's what works. And I've done the same thing for one-shot games too. I go in the direction of whatever they think is cool. So it's like, hey, you know, we really like fighting these pixelated zombies that came out of a video game, and we don't really want to figure out like this big bad guy that's going on, then that's what we're doing. Like we will focus on that, and then we'll do the big bad guy at the end to finish up the game. Like focus on the things that are fun for them, and as long as you are having fun too, of course, because you are a player in the game, you need to have fun because your fun matters just as much as anyone else's.
It matters the most. I'm saying.
Yeah.
A cool trick you can do if you're also worried about that kind of stuff, about, you know, because we're seeing a lot of things like be open, be flexible, get rid of the stuff you wrote, and like that can be intimidating. So
Yes,
if you're worried about that kind of thing and you don't want to cut stuff, a trick I like to use in my one shots is write a problem without a solution, so that whatever the solution is can be determined by a really good dice roll. Or a really good bit of role play or something.
Yeah.
I can't tell. There's an episode we just ran with the brilliant folks over at Rainbow Dice Club, where we play a game called Beach Episode. The whole point of the game is to do a fun beach episode.
Yeah.
That game is nothing but problems without solutions. It is just things they can do, and whatever happens, happens. That way you're not worried about like, oh, what if they don't do what I had planned? That way you're just like, they're going to do exactly what they want to do, and it will either work or not work.
So are you saying we don't need a plot? We just need to like bring up, like we just need to provide problems.
Yeah, so sometimes, I mean, you write a plot, you know, for sure. Like, you know, you can still have a story in there. Sometimes your story is, this is a really weird thing you're in. Here's a weird setting. Get out, and that is the ultimate thing they have to solve. And how they get there is less important than, you know, the what they do to get there. You know,
yeah, no,
so,
I agree. No, I
different strokes for different folks. I'm very clearly into like improv and role play as a GM myself. And if you're not into that, I'm sorry, I cannot help you. I'm not a rules guy.
Yeah, same. But I like ask me to run a game of Pathfinder as a one shot, and I don't.
Literally, I'm asking someone else to do it for me. So.
Yeah, I will play Pathfinder. I will play it, and I will probably enjoy it because rules are fun. But
yeah, when you're the player.
Yeah.
And you can ask someone else, can I do this? When you're the person being asked and you don't know the answer, it's scary and intimidating.
Yeah, when you have someone who literally has memorized, probably not memorized, but pretty much memorized the entire book.
Familiar.
And can answer
if you're GMing something, you're probably obviously like know what you're talking about to an extent, right? So then when someone asks you like, can I do that? You're just like, you know, and then no one's having a good time because then you're pulling the book out and looking for an answer. So like,
which is not fun.
Yeah. So I like problems without solutions for that reason too, because then you can use the mechanics you already know as the solution. Like, well, if you roll high enough, then yes, you can do that.
Yeah, no, I like that. And what I was saying with like not necessarily making a plot is because I think it's really easy to come into a one shot or a TTRPG game in general and be like, here's a plot that I want to play out. Yeah. When it could just be a problem. That is then the plot. Like it doesn't have to be, okay, this whole overarching story that brings everything together. It can be as simple as, hey, of course, my brain blanks as soon as I want to give an example.
You are a fly. You've been born.
I've been born, and I'm slowly dying right now. It's been a long day. It's
what am I going to do with myself now?
No, but for example, my Glitter Hearts game, one of the big things was the fact that a bunch of these video game machines from an undead arcade exploded out and were let out into this basically like 80s themed shopping mall. And so like, but I made kind of the mistake of tying that into something a little bit bigger that then like ended up like it was fine. Like I think everyone was still interested in it, but like that wasn't the main thing that got everyone excited. The main thing that got everyone excited was the fact that there were a bunch of video game creatures that were just let loose in a shopping mall, and they got to save people and explode zombies into pixels. They had the most fun with that, and now it's just a problem. I'm like, hey, all of these undead pixelated creatures are outside. Save the people in the mall. Rescue them all.
That's great. That's a problem without a solution. You know, you've introduced the problem. You don't know how they're going to solve that problem, and now the main thing they're doing is that thing.
Yep.
That's the core of what I'm getting at. You plop them in there in the beginning. Like, this is the reason why you're all together. Maybe we'll do a little bit of a scene and give you the flavor of the vibe that I'm presenting here for you. And we're on our way. You should know what the problem is in the first 15, 30 minutes of your one shot, right? And then I personally like writing a big sandbox I can goof around in. Like, here's all the options and flavors of ice cream you can stick your fingers in. Here's all the toys you can play with. How you play with them is up to you. And some of those are problems or solutions. And then you go from there. Maybe you want to run a one shot where there's a very clear goal you want to get to. You know, maybe you have some detours on the way there. Make those, you know, very clearly introduced out the get-go. Don't hide a lot of stuff. And boom, like that's the main thing you need to do. I'm all about like writing a setting with a lot of doors or a setting with a lot of different places you can go to and people you can meet, because then it's like a choose your own adventure one shot. And at a certain point you'll hit the end and you'll have the solution figured out because you already know what goal you're trying to get to, and all these other things are just the pieces of the puzzle your players are connecting to make the end happen. So you know, maybe don't write a plot, but don't write a middle.
Don't write a middle. No, that's fantastic.
Let the players
point.
write the middle. Give them their urgency out the gate. Smack them on the ass. Send them on their way. Be like, there is the problem on the top of that hill you got to get to. And here's all the things between where you are now and that middle. Where do you want to go? How do you want to do this?
Yeah, I love that. And now this is making me even more. I've been dying to like run a big sandbox game, like campaign, and this is just making me want to do it even more. Like Land of Beam, I am looking at you right now. I swear to God, that game is probably going to be like the only thing I play for a long time because I have issues. Muppets crossed over with Lord of the Rings. What could be better?
Oh, I've seen this. Yeah.
So good. And the fact that like there's literally a whole book that's just filled with locations, random quests and encounters and NPCs and stuff like that makes my heart so happy.
if you're into that, can I turn you on to another system?
Absolutely.
There's a game called Monster Care Squad. It's by Sandy Pug Games, friends of the show. I'm winking at you guys. Love you. Sandy Pug Games made Monster Care Squad, which is kind of what it sounds like. You play a group of essentially monster veterinarians, and you travel across this mythical land, finding and helping solve their problems. And there's an underlying plot there. It's a genuinely like deep and touching and sometimes kind of disturbing game. It's super good. Lots of cool places you can visit. Lots of cool monsters in that game. If you like a big sandbox with a world already built for you, I highly recommend Monster Care Squad.
Yeah, no,
that's a great game for a one shot or a campaign. IMHO.
No, that is now starred in my notebook here. Like I will be looking into that because
gorgeous game.
Guess what? Sometimes I don't want to make a world. Sometimes I just want to experiment with the fun things that they provide in a world. Like again, this game has a whole supplement PDF that is just random encounters.
Yeah.
It makes me happy.
Listen, for all of you folks out there, including Willow, who love that kind of stuff and not having all the work done for you and running modules and that kind of thing, my hat's off to you. It drives me nuts.
Oh, I have never run a module in my life. Actually, wrong. I have run a module, only a Definitely Wizards module, which is just basically it set the rooms up. And that's it. But
even that, especially for the show, I like putting my own personal touch and stuff.
I
And
still did.
you have to. And like
Yeah.
sometimes when I say I want my own personal touch, I mean more like give me your bones. I'm building the skeleton. I'm building the muscle and the flesh and the hair and everything.
Yeah.
Like do not tell me that this game takes place in a world. I'm going to make it mine.
No, I love that.
With very few exceptions, I say that. Monster Care Squad being one of them, because you know what? I'm not going to fuck around with that system because it's powered by the Apocalypse game. It's already a story built on a system. So like, I ain't gonna fuck with that. But if I'm more inclined to run a system than I am a someone else's story, because A, I don't want to fuck your story up, and B, I don't like writing. It's fun.
It is fun. I love doing prep for games and stuff. For my Monster of the Week game, actually, that's a big reason why I love Monster of the Week so much, is the fact that it's a trope, not an actual setting. It doesn't tell you what it's going to be, because it could be Doctor Who, it could be Buffy, it could be Supernatural, it could be Scooby-Doo. Like, it could be so many different things, and it's just
I
whatever
love a system.
you want.
I love a system. Tell me the rules, and I will make them work in the story I want to tell. You know?
Exactly. It's so good, and you know that's why, again, I just love different games. Though it's just because you get different.
Never would
have
guessed.
Really, I mean,
really?
I was hoping that the show would actually show this, but you know,
this is a show.
Yeah. Where are we right now?
We're not just hanging out.
I mean, it's pretty much just hanging out, which is the best part of the show.
I mean, hopefully I was helpful. I'm hoping that.
I think so. Yeah.
This gives you all the confidence to run that one shot and have it really be a one shot. You know, I love them. I love one shots a whole lot. Obviously, I built a whole podcast around them. I think it's really cool to give people like, you know, a shot of adrenaline for a story and show them a tight system that I enjoy a lot. In ways where I don't have to know everything out the gate, because I'm just showing them the bare bones of something that, you know, it puts more people's work in more people's hands. Like if you run a one shot, you're probably introducing 4 or 5 people to a creator you really enjoy, and that can help that creator a whole lot. Hintity hint. You know, like, I love a good one shot. Some people are afraid of them. Some people don't want to do them. Some people are concerned they're going to blow it. Listen. From me personally, as the guy who's done over 30 of them with like 15 fucking more in the pipe, you're gonna fuck it up. Good. Revel in the fuck ups. They're the best parts of any RPG you play. Everyone remembers those the most with fondness, you know, especially in one shots.
This makes me think of my Honey Heist game, which was one of the first, I think actually the first one shot that I ran.
Great game.
And a great
Grant
game. Great game. Grant Howitt. Absolutely awesome. Strange game. I was already exhausted that day. I didn't really plan for much other than that they were going to be stealing this like honey ham from a convenience store. And it ended up with a polar bear named Jesus running
naturally. What else would it be?
running over a animal control guy with a school bus because they were doing donuts in the parking lot to distract them. So basically it ended up with a polar bear named Jesus committing vehicular manslaughter.
All according to plan. Probably in your notes.
Yeah. It was definitely right now, like changing.
Probably the only way they're getting out of the situation, no question.
Yeah, it was the only way it was going to happen. And I was like, I didn't know how to feel by the end, because I'm like, I'm not sure what just happened.
I've done a blasphemy in the eyes of the Lord, so.
Yeah. And it was just, it was still like one of the first games that I played outside of D&D. My first one shot, I didn't really know what I was doing. And I thought, I think I did expect a bit more of a plan. And so when it did end up turning into, you know, vehicular manslaughter, and then I think one of the bears turned into an Instagram influencer or something. I don't know. It was a fun time.
Great.
Yeah, I was kind of like, wait, isn't this supposed to be a bit more controlled? But the more I've played one-shots and the more that I've experienced other games, I'm like, all fucks are out the window. Like, we are just having fun, and if it ends up with Polar Bear Jesus committing vehicular manslaughter, that's how it was meant to be.
Listen, players, especially if you're giving your forever GM a chance to finally play, they're going to want to do the most unhinged shit you've ever heard in your fucking life.
So true.
They've been dreaming of this moment for 3 years, and they are going to seize every single second of it. And you, my friend, just have to roll with the punches and let them.
Yep.
Don't and of course, when we say let them, we of course mean, be unhinged responsibly. Don't fucking be a jackass. Don't be a jerk. Don't ruin anyone else's good time. We're assuming that all your friends are cool when we talk about these advice tips.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Let them be unhinged. Let them drive the car. Let them break the pots and chase the chickens.
Yeah.
Let them do those and let those be your solutions. Don't be precious about it. Now, we've talked a lot about comedy in one shots, and it's gonna happen. These rules also apply to drama. To be clear, so if you come out of the gate being like, I want to run a super serious one shot, just to say that we can, because we've been dicking around in our game for forever. I am assuming this is your scenario, and you're a big high fantasy fan, and you've all been doing Monty Python for a while in your D&D campaign. Like, guys, can we do one shot where there's like medieval intrigue, and they all go, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. Rules still apply.
Yeah.
Comedy and drama aren't enemies of each other. They are two sides of the same coin that follow the same rules. The only difference is how you react to what happens.
Yeah.
A man falling down and breaking his back can be tragic or funny depending on what the audience reacts and what sound effect you play under it. So
it's all about the sound effects.
Just keep that in mind. If you've been sitting here listening to us goof around and you're like, well, this isn't going to work for my super serious, hyper realistic, brutal ass Pathfinder first edition campaign we've been doing since 1985. Yes, it does. It super does. Lie to your players. Let them figure out the solutions, and don't even prepare the solutions. Let your dice tell your stories for you. Give them the big evil wizard on the hill that has the really serious monologue you want to deliver still. Just let them figure it out in the confines of your story. The rules are unilateral.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with that, because I use these same rules within my Monster of the Week game, which is pretty much completely improv, and that's a serious game. We are playing through a story. We are all, sometimes there's jokes and stuff like that, but it is drama. There's mystery there and all of that, and it's the same things, except I do have to keep notes for the mysteries, just because I can't just say bullshit and then like if that's gonna be the hints that I'm giving
I've done that. I've written really elaborate mysteries that required certain solutions to certain puzzles that I couldn't improv my way out of, and I'm like, I made a mistake here this day. Everything that I've told you that's a good piece of advice is a thing I learned the hard way.
Yeah, no, that's all it too. Like, we're giving this advice, we're talking all of this game, but like it all comes down to like we learned this from our own mistakes
all the time. I still don't know how to play most of the games I'm playing. I'm just here to have a good time, Holmes.
Yeah,
we just wrapped up like the first 6 parts of a show called Bella's Comet, which is a super I wouldn't say super serious, but definitely serious, darker thing than I normally do. And listen, there are certain episodes where your boy didn't come in with a lot of notes. I'm gonna tell you right now. If you go listen to Bella's Comet, here's the thing: episodes 2, 3, and 6, and parts of 5. Well, parts of all of them, but especially episodes 2, 3, and 6 are 90% improvised, and it's a drama show. So it's doable.
Yeah, it's doable. That's what it comes down to. Everything's possible with enough bullshit. Like, honestly.
You are a fly. You've been born. And that can also be a drama. I want to do a really serious one-shot where we grapple with humanity and life and death within a 24-hour time frame from the perspective of a fly. Congrats, you now have a one-shot.
Yeah, can we do this?
I'm going to write this fucking game. Hang on.
Please. Right now. This is a commitment.
There's
that
gotta
would
be a system for this.
There has to be. Like, I really want to play that now because that is just. This is now like my favorite bit that's come from an episode.
It's kind of the guiding philosophy of the miniseries we're doing right now because it's essentially 4 one-shots tied together through one story. So, it's a lot of grappling with humanity and death and doing things quickly in a sense of urgency. So, listen, they're not playing flies, but if you want to hear astronauts do it, come on down to Game Master Monday.
Yeah, basically, I mean, moral of the story, go down to Game Master Monday and hear
Just listen to my show.
Yeah, listen. Exactly.
This could have been a 5-minute episode where Willow could have said, if you want to get good at running one-shots, go listen to Grant's podcast. And I'd be like, good night, everybody, and then we'll be done.
Yeah, we're over with. Shortest episode of the RPG Goblin to date. Instead, we spend about an hour and a half.
Here like Michigan J Frog, and we're done. Like we're see ya.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, bye.
Toodles. No, I toot my own horn a lot, but I'm passionate about it. We have over 30 now, I think,
30
episodes over a Game Master Monday. So I've done this a couple of times. I love them a lot. I love writing. I have a very fun process that I'm really into, and it's fun to be able to share my thoughts and philosophies on it. And listen, they might not be for everyone. You might be sitting down and write your one shot right now, writing all those problems without solutions, thinking about what mayhem your players are going to get into, and you might go, this isn't clicking for me. That's cool.
Okay.
The real rule here is do what's best for you and your players. But you asked me, so shut up.
We specifically brought on Grant to talk about this, so we're gonna get the perspective of Grant and his mayhem.
Yeah,
so
he's not specifically right, but he's not wrong either.
It's all just tools. That's how I like viewing any kind of advice or any kind of even rules of TTRPGs. All of them are tools to tell the story and have the experience that you want to have. And if it doesn't fit, then you don't use those tools because they don't fit what you want. It's as simple as that. You just saying, improv is a great way of GMing isn't saying the word to God, that is the only way that you can GM and the only way it's going to be good. Because it's going to be different for everyone. It's just a tool. Yeah. Some people work better with it.
And, in my experience, these things usually don't fail me. I've had an honestly shocking amount of success with these philosophies running one-shots, keeping the core of them relatively the same all the time. But the one thing I never change is listen to your players and lie to them. And I'm saying that completely earnestly, in any capacity. If you're running things, I do those two things, I never get complaints, and I get people who want to come back on my show or want me to run things for them again. Willow is still my friend despite it all.
Yeah.
So take that for what it's worth.
Technically, I haven't been on a game where you've run.
That's true. Jenny ran your game, but maybe this spring. He lets that linger in the air.
Yeah, I mean,
the fuck could that mean? I haven't even announced that to my own personal friend group.
Yeah, guys, if you're listening to this, don't
maybe stick around for May. Who knows?
Maybe something's gonna happen, and
maybe it's on a one shot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we'll see when we get there. Obviously, keep an eye on social medias. That's all I'm saying. And listen to Game Master Monday. So those are the two requirements.
That more than anything else, do that.
Yeah, exactly. If you got through this entire episode and you're wondering what to do, listen to Game Master Monday. But yeah, honestly though, I think we're probably at the end here.
Yeah, unless you have another burning question that I haven't covered here. But listen. If you fast forwarded to the end of the episode, here's what we talked about. Here's the big breakdown. Number 1, less is more. Number 2, kill your darlings. Don't be pressed to their ideas. Be open to those things changing.
Yep.
Number 3, if you're working at a convention, you've got to go back and find that point in the episode. I am not summarizing it here.
Yeah, that's stress.
4, a good trick is to write problems that don't have solutions and let your players figure it out for themselves and feel cool and smart. Number 5, if you want a sense of urgency, give them their goal out the gate. Make it a clear, obtainable, easy goal. If you're making characters, don't overload them with shit. Keep them simple too, homie. It'll make you and your GM happy. And listen to your friends and lie to your friends.
Yep.
Those are the 8 tenets.
8 tenets. Make a whole post about it. Here you go, everyone.
There you go.
Here's what you need to know about one-shots. No, seriously. I mean, again, this is obviously just our experiences and perspectives and opinions on designing one-shots and all of that good stuff. You may have different ones, and I'd love to hear that. So if you want to let me know on Threads or Twitter or anything like that, or even on wherever you listen to your podcast, because I know Spotify has a whole thing where you can comment. Let me know. I want to hear other people's opinions all the time. I like learning new things. I like learning new ideas on how to run games because it's always super eye-opening. Like this episode was actually really eye-opening for me too.
I'm glad.
That was great. Yeah.
If you have different opinions from me, don't tell me. I'm an old man who's set in my ways. I will not change for anyone.
I will not change for anyone. See, I'm changing for myself because I just like hearing ideas and being like, "Oh shit, you've got a good point." Yeah,
I'm always stealing shit. Honestly, I'm always open to new philosophies. I'm constantly reading, watching, listening,
constantly absorbing.
Yeah, when you're a content creator and you have to, tell 26 stories a year, you tend to just pull your ideas and your insight from anywhere you can get them. And if something new strikes you, you run with it. So
absolutely,
be an open book, kids.
Yeah, be an open book. That's the life lesson at the end of this episode. Be an open book,
and be a fly.
Be a fly.
Let your one shot die like it's supposed to.
And I think that's a great way to end this episode. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming and listening to this episode. This was fantastic. Thank you, Grant, for coming on and talking about it, because this was fantastic. Again, really weird and unhinged energy tonight, so I hope that you enjoyed it, because this is just how it is. Again, Grant, if you would like to tell everyone where they can find you and your show so that they can listen to Game Master Monday, because it is a requirement. Please go ahead. It is now.
It's your homework.
Yeah.
We're Game Master Monday. We are on every podcast service you can think of. If you liked the energy of this episode, I run a whole bunch of one-shots with my little sister Jenny. Like we said, different system, different cast every episode. So we've got a lot of your favorite podcasters on there. Yes, yours. I can see your library. They're on there. We can be found on Twitter at Game Master Mun. You can find us at Game Master Monday on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, YouTube, Twitch, where we'll be doing some live streaming next year.
Very
a little
exciting.
bit. And if you really, really like our unhinged energy and want to tell me to my dumb face, you can join our Discord, which is linked in the bio of all of our social medias. It's a pretty cool and happening place.
It's a fantastic place. And again, all of the links and all of these things will be in the description of this episode for your convenience, because again, I want you to check out Game Master Monday. I want you to check out all these things. So let's make it easy for you. But yeah, again, I mean, I think a big thing, this show is all about exploring and introducing you to new and different TTRPGs. If you want to actually hear them get played out, not necessarily all the ones that's been on the shows, been on this show, but if you want to hear
quite a few of them, though, for sure.
Quite a few of them, yeah, definitely. But if you want to experience some other games actually get played out and experience the stories and the absolute shenanigans that happen over at Game Master Monday, it's a great podcast to just get introduced to new games if you don't like to hear me ramble, which I don't know why you would get this far into the episode if that was the case. So
and hey, if you're afraid of continuity or for shows going on for too long, folks, we have none.
Yeah.
It's a one shot every week, and twice a year we do a 4-part miniseries. We're very bingeable, and you can pick up the show anywhere you like. Just go through our episode list, whatever title strikes you. Mm-hmm. Come on down. We'd love to have you.
The best pitch. I love it. And I think with that, we're going to end. So thank you again, Grant, so much for coming on.
Thank you, Willow.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Yay!